Hi everyone, so welcome back. So let's start with the part 2 of this Eon series. So let's read the second subtopic of the Eon series, Targeted. So it is the TI narratives validates their basic ability to perceive the world and the reason about it. Let's see what this passage hold for us. So let's start with the first passage. I begin to see TIs like Luca as a group of individuals who are caught between two competing narratives. By all accounts, these are peoples who are hearing terrifying voices, experiencing painful sensation, or seeing themselves as being stalked. Over the years, the main narrative that has emerged to explain their experience below belongs to medical psychiatry. It holds that these voices and beliefs or hallucinations and delusions are symptoms of a disorder such as schizophrenia, delusion disorder, or schizoaffective disorder. What is schizophrenia? Uh, Schizophrenia is a serious mental illness in which someone cannot understand what is real and what is imaginary. And these disorders likely stems from brain dysfunctions or defective genes. In the best of cases, these symptoms can be managed with drugs or some combination of drugs and therapy. Though the medical narratives help some, and research is showing just how stigmatizing and disempowering it is for others. Some gets the message that their brain is broken and that they can never trust their thoughts and perceptions. Many, like Luca, are put on antipsychotic drugs with debilitating side effects. So, what this passage is talking about, how they got this effects, or how disorder, how this disorder affect our brain. So it says that just like a people who belongs to the TI community, just like Luca, they're hearing terrifying voices, experiencing a painful sensation, or seeing themselves as being stalked, which is a completely delusion and hallucinations, which is not a reality. It's just because of the disorder, brain disorder. And what is this disorder? This disorder called as schizophrenia, and these are the effect of this disorder, that they are seeing something imaginary, hallucinating, having delusions, etc., etc. And how this can be managed? This can be managed through the drugs itself, or with the combination of the drugs and therapy. And how this disorder these people got, either by dysfunction of the brain or by the genes. So, what is the suitable title for this particular passage? The suitable title for this particular passage is uh, TI's brain disorder and how it's affect our brain and its cure. And what the important points we can capture from this particular passage. Firstly, it's it's caught between, firstly, group of individuals are caught between two competing narratives, and these peoples who are hearing terrifying voices, experiencing a painful sensation, or seeing themselves as being stalked. And it's whole that these voices and beliefs or hallucinations and delusions are symptoms of disorder such as schizophrenia, delusional disorder, or schizoaffective disorder. And disorders stem from brain dysfunctions or defective genes. And it is managed with drugs or some combination of drugs and therapy. Some gets message that their brain is broken and they can never trust their own thoughts and perceptions. Let's moving toward the next species. Let's read about the second narrative. The second narrative, the TI narratives, is that if you are having these sorts of experience, nothing is wrong with your mind. Your perceptual and the reasoning ability are functioning exactly the way they are designed to. Unfortunately, you are the victim of gang stalking or electronic harassments. Despite your suffering, however, there is a hope. You can band together with the other TIs in a group movement to expose your attractors and dismantle their techniques. So here author is talking about the second narrative about the TI group of peoples. It says that if they are facing this kind of a disorder, this kind of experience as well, so that doesn't mean that there is something wrong with their brains or with them. It's completely working fine in the way of reasoning ability. But why they feeling like this? Because of their victim of gang stalking or electronic harassments. But still, they can cope up with by just interacting with the other TI group members and just expose their attracker and dismantle their techniques. And what is the meaning of dismantle? So the meaning of dismantle here is to take a machine apart or to come apart into the separate pieces. As it says, it's another way reason why they're experiencing is that kind of experience because of the electronic harassments. So we need to just summarize the species. No need to just give it a title and pick the important point from it. So how can we summarize? The second narrative is nothing wrong with your brain. Your perpetual and reasoning ability functioning exactly the way they designed to. Unfortunately, are the victims of you are the victims of a gang stalking or electronic harassment. Band together with cope up with this? Band together with other TI global movement to expose their attackers or dismantle their techniques. So let's moving toward the next species. Trapped between these two narratives, many opt for the TI narratives. It validates their basic ability to perceive the world and reasons about it, precisely what psychiatry's medical narrative denies. It infuses their frightening experience with a powerful sense of purpose and coherence. It gives TI the most precious resource of all: community, belonging, even love. So, this whole passage we can summarize that, and firstly what it's trying to say, it's trying to say that uh, by trapping into two narratives which explained earlier, the medical one and the TI group narrative, so it says that it was you can recover just because you also because these people can recover if we get give them a proper love, just make them realize that they are belonging to this world, they are the part of this community. Just we need to encourage them in any way we can. That's the more effective reasons, effective way to communicate with them and get them out of this horrifying experience. So this how we just summarize the species. Let's moving toward the next one. But if psychiatry's broken brain narrative is pushing people deeper into the TI community, how did this happen? How it is possible that the very profession that was designed to support people like Luca might be making them worse off? And there are alternatives to these two narratives. The idea that your brain is broken and the idea that you're actually being persecuted. So what the species is trying to say that? What if we can just look in another way? What with the psychiatric broken brain narratives make the situation more worse because it's make you feel like you have something wrong with yourself or something wrong with your brain. And what if that pushing the people deeper into the TI communities? And on the other side, we don't have any other alternative despite of these two. So this is the questions asked Professor author ask. So this is the summary only. Let's moving toward the next business. The idea that disembodied voices and strange beliefs are symptoms of brain disorder is very old. In the West, it stretches back to the Manifesto on the Scared Disease, 400 BC, in which ancient Greek doctors tells us that form of madness stem from air deprivation in the brain. In the first half of 20th century, asylum psychiatrists with a penchant of experimental remedies, lobotomies, insulin comas, malaria injections, even tooth extraction embarrass the medical vision. Firstly, there are you should know the meaning of these few words here. The first one is asylum. What is asylum means? It's a protection or safety, especially that given by the government to the people who have been forced to leave their own country or to their safety because of war. And another one is lobotomies. What is lobotomies means? It's a medical operation in which a cuts are made in or near the front part of the brain used in the past for the treatment of severe mental problems. So here author is saying that let this whatever the experience Luca is having, this symptoms is brain disorder which is very old, which is earlier we said that okay it's in symptoms of brain disorder, but now it is not because why it is not. It says that in the first half of the 20th century, asylum psychiatrists with a penchant for experimental remedies, lobotomies, insulin comas, malaria injections, even tooth extraction, embarrass a medical visit. For everything, for such a common disease, we also have some medical visits. That way, it's also considered with some disorders, disease, but in actuality, it is not as much as worst scenario which consider earlier when the then technology development and expansions is not there, but now the things are completely changed. So this we can summarize, but let's moving toward the next business. But even in the 1960s, in early 70s, there were other paradigms available to suffering peoples. There are collection of viewpoints that didn't see hallucinations, delusions, or other extreme experience as symptoms of disease, but as doorway to personal, social, or spiritual transformation. These experiences, if properly understood, would lead the individual to a higher level of human flourishing. In the words of today's mad pride movement, they were a dangerous gifts. So this passage is trying to say that in even in 1960s or in late 1960s or in early 70s, there is a paradox available to the suffering people that the symptoms of hallucination, delusions, always considered as some kind of a disease. But once the people introduced with the personal, social, and spiritual transformations, these things are completely terms as a normal. We itself can get rid of all these kinds of symptoms because now we have a different technical way to deal with that in our day-to-day life. We can have a several experiences that we can just cope up with this, and we can easily get frustrated, we easily get just hallucinations and everything. So it is not that big deal which it was earlier, which it was mentioned in the books and the other articles. We can cope up with this things, this experience easily. So let's moving toward the next passage. There were at least three alternative perspectives that framed the extreme experience as psychological, social, spiritual awakening rather than dysfunction. So it says that this experience or this experience like a Lucas is not terms considers under the dysfunction of the brain, but it's a sociological, spiritual, or psychological awakening. Let's moving toward the next pieces. One approach saw the mad mind as a wounded mind. Not wounded in the sense of broken, but in the sense of having survived painful life experience. The experience we call paranoia. Being hyper vigilant to threats, seeing malicious motives everywhere, could be a protective response of the organisms to real threats rather than symptoms of a disease. Suppose a person has survived abuse, neglects, and other form of trauma such as racism, classism, disaster, homophobia. Being hyper vigilant to threats is actually a pretty reasonable response to those problems. In the 1930s, psychiatrists in the US like Frida Fromm, Richmond of Chestnut Slough Psychiatric Institute, or her colleague Harry Sullivan view the symptoms of schizophrenia as a part of journey of recovery. So here the completely new concept of this disorder is that it is not actually disorder. It is also as a mad mind, and that mad mind we earlier discussed as a wounded mind, which means we are having some suffering from some kind of a disease. When but in actuality it is not any kind of a disease, it's just an experience, horrifying experience of that particular person's, and the experience such like that abuse the person is survival of the abuse, neglects, other form of trauma such as racism, classism, climate disorder, or homophobia. And this xenophobia is actually the start journey of recovery. It's not a disease actually. So what the title should given to this species is that xenophobia or this dysfunction of brain disorder is actually in reality it's just an horrifying experience of a person. Or what we can take from here is that a mad mind as a wounded mind, not wounded in the sense of a broken, but in the sense of having survival painful life experience that we can take, which is a very most important line in this thesis, and which is called paranoia, being hyper vigilant to threats, seeing malicious motive everywhere. Because of that, their bad experience in life, they're saying threats in every situation, and everywhere, in everything, because they came from any worse scenarios in their life. It is a protective response to the organism to real threats rather than the symptoms of disease. It is not actually disease. And being hyper vigilant to threats is actually a pretty reasonable response to those problems. And the symptoms of xenophobia as a part of as the start of a journey of recovery. So that's all for this species. Let's moving toward the next one. The first approach was there, how we approach in today's modern era, and the next one is here. A second approach look at psychosis not as a trauma response but as a mirror of damaged society. In the 1960s, the Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Laing, who was influenced by the from Richmond and Sullivan, described madness as a form of insight, a sane response to an insane world. Its fundamental truth is that the conditions of the modern society are no longer fit for human flourishing. Along these lines, the journalist Jean Guerrero, writing in Wired in 2018, described TI as the prophet of information era and the proverbial canaries in the coal mine, who offer a dire warning about the reality of constant electronic surveillance. We don't have to accept the literal truth of the TI narrative to see as an accurate symbolic representation of our social plight. The second approach is saying that the person, the person, Scottish, the person, R.D. Laing, who is influenced by the foreign Richmond and the Sullivan, describes the madness as a form of insight, a sane response to the insane world. Because they, they are completely fine. It's their response which is in reality a very reasonable, or we can say a sane response to this insane world. Because whatever the experience, whatever the group of the people who belongs to the TI group experience, just because of our world in the society, they have they are nothing in fault. So that's what it's saying, that it is a fundamental truth that the condition of the modern society are no longer fit for the human flourishing. Yeah, definitely. And here it says that the TI is a prophet of the information era and the proverbial canaries in the coal mine, who offer a dire warning about the reality of constant electronic surveillance. So, by giving the example of canneries, you see, in coal mines, the author is trying to say that they are just kind of giving a warning to the society that how they are damaging it. It's there, the representation of the TI groups is our wrongdoing. So it's completely the condition they are in just because of the society. They don't have any dysfunction of the brain or anything else. Whatever they are facing, whatever the perspective they have, is just because of our modern era society. So the title given to this passage is Second Approach to Second Approach of the Madness of TI People's Community. And what we can take from here, psychosis not as a trauma response but as a mirror of a damaged society. Madness as a form of insights, a sane response to an insane world. The conditions of the modern society are no longer fit for the human flourishing. TI as a prophet of the information era and the provival canaries in the coal mines offer a dire warning about the reality of constant electronic surveillance. Accurate symbolic representation of our social plight. So that's all for today. We will continue tomorrow with part 3 of this particular EON topic. As of now, have a great day and the learning. Thank you.